Tuesday. I think it's a Tuesday. We're back live.
It that ends in Y. We're that
Shit. So we're live on a Tuesday for another episode of e-commerce growth stories because Valentin is on a vacation, so we're not doing anything this Thursday. But I'm here with Lucas Walker to have a great conversation about what the fuck is happening in e-commerce. Lucas is the founder and host of Rolled Up Podcast, Pit Stop Podcast, and he's one of those guys that's been around in e-commerce for a long time, and they know everything about everything. And
I don't know about that.
come on, you said you do. You paid me to say that.
I know it's not. The truth is less sexy. It's a 10,000 hour theory in practice. It's like a pilot. If you stay in the cockpit long enough, you encounter every kind of weather scenario there is. That's like me. I've just encountered every e-commerce scenario that there is pretty much, and how they replicate to different places.
How did you get into e-commerce, man? Because everyone that I asked this question to, it's an accident. So how did you get?
The first, are we calling e-commerce like making money online, or like selling products like pure play e-commerce like on Shopify? Because those are two different stories.
Let's go to the classic definition of selling shit online and getting paid for it.
I had some friends selling stuff online, and I wanted to create a store to make a little bit of extra money, maybe write off some stuff for my taxes, and then it just kind of kept on ongoing from there. So it was never meant to be a career at all. But my first money selling online is even more accidental. It was a video that I did for a course. So just like we're streaming this to YouTube, I uploaded the video to YouTube just so I could play it in class.
Yeah.
No, not just literally. That's why it was easier to just load it from their laptop. And it ended up getting featured in a couple of different things, got enough views that YouTube, and this is in 2011, Google sends me an email saying, hey, give us your bank details. We want to pay you money. And I think, sure, buddy, sure. This is a phishing scam if I've ever seen one. You're like, no, easy there, Nigerian prince. So I do that, and lo and behold, I made like $1,000 off this video, which I did for a course, which paid for like the class, the textbook, everything for that one course, which was pretty cool. And so that's really where I realized, like, hey, there's money to be made here. It's a thing. So that's kind of how I got the bug, and that was a decade ago now, which is in e-commerce time is a lifetime pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, just in the last 2 years, everything that we knew.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are people who have been more successful than me doing it for less time, and there are people who have been doing it longer, but not many on either front. So I think I'm a pretty good representative of sort of what the fuck's going on in e-commerce.
So tell me about, because like right now we're experiencing a lot of changes when it comes to how you can advertise and how you can grow your brand. Mm-hmm. But let's take it back to 2011, 2012, where everyone was, showering in the Facebook organic love and the ads love, and people were making crazy money out of advertising. So they just, spent a lot of money. And how did this habit of spending so much money on acquisition started? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, and I mean, I've never really been much of paid acquisition myself. A lot of organic, whether it's through Google, word of mouth from customers. I always really optimize for that. It's kind of like a never-ending funnel. Just have you never want to come to a dead end with your customer story. So if a customer makes a purchase, give them something to do. Maybe it's follow you on Instagram. Maybe it's sign up for SMS. Maybe it's join a Facebook group, and little things like that. So I've never been one for huge paid acquisitions, but having said that, I wish I got into that a few years ago when it was seemingly simpler. But the thing is that and we're seeing this with iOS 15 as well. And so sort of my two things are that I'm really good at is sort of high conversion emails and just high converting copy once the audience has been prospected. And I think that something that really comes with sort of paid acquisition 8-9 years ago versus today is it's always changing. So if you could learn something 8 years ago, you can learn it today. It's not going to take you that much time to get ready and qualified to buy Facebook ads. If you think of going to a company and going through a corporate training program. Some of that is getting to know your coworkers, and some of that is getting to know the internal processes, and some of it is just learning how to do your job. Like if you go to PetSmart and you want to be a groomer, they'll put you through a 4-week course. You can learn to buy ads today with all the changes going on in probably 4 to 6 weeks. It's not going to take you more than 6 weeks to start like profitably buying ads. It'll take you a lot longer to master that and become the best at your craft, but you can do it, and then you start optimizing for how to be better and how to improve. Because at the end of the day, money that you can find at the top of funnel is money that you're putting in your pocket at the end of the purchase.
So would you say that it was easier to start an e-commerce business, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago than it is today? Because from where I stand, there's a lot of obviously competition is always going to be there, but I guess it has become a no-brainer lately to start a brand and to start an e-commerce business, and a lot of people are jumping right in the bandwagon of selling online.
Yeah, I mean, competition is. Let's just unpack, because there's a few things. I mean, the biggest misconception is that it was easier or better years ago. When people say, "Oh, I wish I could be alive with 100 years ago and bring back modern technology." So you don't.
I can reframe it a bit. Was the entry barrier harder than it is today to start and sell online?
I mean, it was still so easy, and you can always compare it to a generation ago. A generation ago, if you wanted a product, even T-shirts, you'd have to go get it printed and call up a bunch of stores and just say, "Hey, do you want to buy some T-shirts if you don't pay me in 30 days, whatever." And a lot of the operations and logistics that were greatly accelerated by having the ability to start a website. And it's not that much different. It's just where people are. There's just more opportunity. Like TikTok as a channel did not exist 5 years ago.
And yet everyone right now swears by it.
There's always new channels. There's always something novel to go on now. Is it easier or harder now? I think it's definitely easier to get started. I think there's a lot more opportunity at the high end, and people say, well, like people love to complain about apps or this and that, but at the end of the day, it's still significantly easier than having to build it from scratch in-house and doing your own thing. So I think there's a lot of more opportunity on both the low end and the high end now, as well as just more consumers. Because as competitive as it is, there are just significantly more online shoppers. Like the number of Shopify stores didn't double in 2020, but the number of customers did. So I think that's something to really, really keep in mind, that if you were succeeding in 2019, your customer base is that much bigger now, and the market hasn't caught up. So I guess it's easier now than it was a few years ago, which is crazy for me to say. You sure there's a cops over there? You steal those bananas or something? Like what's going on? You kill someone?
No, I live exactly on the street right now, and there's a lot of ambulances, and it's more in the city, in my new apartment. So like every now and then you will get the sounds, but it's hot as hell, so I have to have my window open because we don't have central AC in Romania.
Okay.
It's just in the living room, the AC. I mean, the reason why I'm asking you is because I've been looking a lot on the CPG vertical, and there is where, you see a new company every day that sells more or less the same shit. I think I lost count of how many companies sell Shaga drinks.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, some crazy shrooms drinks and so on. And I guess what I want to ask you is that do you think like the people that are jumping in right now in the CPG, for instance, are just forgetting to crawl before they can walk? Because a lot of them don't even think about stuff like product market fit, about what create their space in the market, about positioning. I just see people that have an idea, they just do this beverage, they put their brand name on it and say, come and drink my shit, come and eat my shit, come and buy my organic proteic super drink.
Yeah. I think that 90% of CPG startups are going to fail anyway. Just the cold hard truth. And 10, 20 years ago, you'd see the fancy food show a bunch of new products, but 18 months down the road, where are they on grocery store shelves? And I think that there's just always been those plateaus that you can hit.
Yeah.
So if you hit a plateau and say, well, this is it, and maybe that plateau is small independent retailers. Let's say you're selling a bar, because that's a really hard market to crack. And they had Susie York from Love Good Fats on the podcast. She did $47 million of revenue her second year. Mm-hmm. And so, like a non-traditional entrepreneur of who you think, she has 2 kids. She was in her 40s, I think, when she started. She's a little bit older, but she still did 47 million. But a lot of it is just putting that legwork and the logistics of getting your product around. And so she was able to get into Costco and big retailers, and that's still where the majority of money is made, especially in CPG. Because for it to be profitable, people really need to be buying by the case. If you sell direct, not everyone wants to buy things by the case.
Yeah, and it's also it's a very it's like a Me Too type of C. Everything is very, very similar, and we did some customer research on similar brands that were selling more or less the same stuff, and people could not tell them apart. A lot of them were answering that they were thinking it's the same brand. So
think about your team and how hard it is for your team to get to know what's going on with your brand and what you're going on. Like, what percentage of I'll just use OmniConvert because you work there. So let's say you do a blog post. Even here, what percentage of the employees are tuned in watching right now with what's going on with the company?
I think maybe like 6 or 7 usually, which is my team, and I'm their direct manager. So they come because they don't want to.
How many? Like, what percentage of the team is that?
Oh man, it's like, I don't know.
10?
I don't know, 10, maybe 11%.
So 10% of employees are interested in your marketing, branding, what's going on. Then you get into the retailers or the marketplace. So you're even that far removed from your customers. So it's hard to get customers to really care and know the nuance of what you're doing it for. They buy it for one simple reason, which you may or may not know. And it could be because it's keto. It's most likely because it's right there and accessible to them at that time of purchase. Because I think bars are a great industry because maybe you sell online, maybe you sell on the marketplace like Amazon, and maybe you sell in some gyms. You have a direct referral program through some personal trainers. But after that, you can't really get into mainstream grocery, and you kind of plateaued. Yeah. So I think there are just more of those opportunities to plateau and still make a good business. Each one of those channels could easily be 7 figures of revenue. Mm-hmm. So you can start a business and do $4 or $5 million of revenue, which is crazy when you think about it, because the average business in Canada is about $600,000 a year revenue.
Damn. So
like, if you think of like the average business, corner store, like an owner operator of a truck, so there's all different sizes in there, but you can start a pretty legitimate business. Not that difficult, but the biggest challenge is really logistics.
Oh yeah, it's an industry problem. No matter where you're located, logistics and fulfillment and shipping times. That's the biggest e-commerce problem. Like, sometimes, people hear me talk about CLV, but I don't think CLV is the biggest problem. I think fucking fulfilling your orders is.
Yeah, and I mean, look at buying furniture the last 2 years or appliances. There's tons of stores that sell dishwashers or microwaves or whatever, and they're just sold out for 6 months in advance. It's hard to get people to commit to buying something if they're not going to get their product in the next 2 days with free shipping, let alone 6 months, and they have to pay now. Like, most people don't really want to do that.
It's true. It's the Amazon effect. We have in Romania, we don't have Amazon, but we have something similar to Amazon. And I just order from it because I don't want to wait for 3-4 days or a week or 2 weeks to get something, because this is the type of, era that we're living. And a lot of times brands also are not very honest about their shipping times because they have to compete with the, narrative in the market. So then, the customer support gets overwhelmed by tickets with where's my order and all the questions. And
yeah, it's a lot easier to
just be honest
with the money than to tell a customer it's going to be a while and so.
Yeah, because they're afraid they're going to lose the customer, but in the end, they will still lose the customer anyway. So How was it when you were working for Gorgias? Because I know you've been working there, and like, they've been growing a lot. How was it?
Yeah, no, it was amazing. It was fast. Just every day, more and more stuff coming on, and that's just a really good segue to. It's not always the problems that are different. It's the channels. Customers still want to know where their order is. They still want to know a lot of information pre-sales. It's crazy. I would shake babies to get the message across. Like, I just want to say, take care, make it easy for your customers to buy, support them in their decisions. And so many brands are like, no, I don't want to do this. It's like you spend so much money testing ads for the same price that you spend testing ads for a month. Just hire someone to sit on your website chat and say, hey, if you have any questions, I'm a real person. I'm here to help you make your purchase. And just knowing knowing the products that complement one another. And that's why people go to specialty stores, whether it's offline or online. If you think of like cycling or you got tattoos, I don't know anything about tattoos. So if I'm buying a tattoo bomb or something, like some tattoo care or whatever, I'm just buying bandages from Amazon or Walmart or whatever. But you've had a couple tattoos, you've probably seen like what the budget stuff gets you versus like the better stuff. So you're going to a tattoo shop and like, hey, I just got this tattoo. And they're asking questions like, was it dark ink? Is it outlined? What kind of tattoo is it?
Yeah.
Because that makes a difference. And if you sell a specialty product, having the right suggestion does two things. One, it mitigates unhappiness in the future. If people are buying a specialty product, they don't care about the price. They just care about the quality.
Yeah.
Like they just don't, they remember if they buy a crap product or it's been sitting around for 6 months and it's unopened, they say, you know, I'm not going to buy it unless I do my research next time. And it also increases your cart value because you say, well, you know, you've got this cream, but you might also want the oil or the special bandages that allow the skin to breathe or whatever it is. So then you're that's how to increase your cart value. Just help people buy more stuff. So I think that those are really the two trends that I've seen that maybe the market isn't quite ready to adapt to yet.
What do you think that happens? Because I've seen you pointed something really, really cool there, and it's something that I really believe as well. The fact that, you know, people are very easy to throw money out of their pocket for, you know, Bitcoins on ads. That's how I call it. But their customer support people are paid very bad. They're considered a cost center versus a profit center. And people don't, I mean, not all the brands, but most of the brands don't really give a fuck about their customer support people. They just want to, you know, get rid of the customers. But like those people actually have the power to change the way you're making money and the power of how you're perceived in the market. And I think, and this is what I want you to let me know what your thoughts are. Like, I think the bad type of mentality when it comes to taking care of customers and the way they buy and the way they consume comes from the founder of the company that is not capable of sending that message across to the company of how they are standing when it comes to customers. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, let's approach it with a little bit of empathy and take both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
And I'll share my opinion. I mean, first off, startup founders are just have a million things on the go. I've never met a founder that's sitting around saying, well, sure, what should I be doing? Like, there's always something pressing. So everything's going to be rushed, and there might be just 8-9 things that are priorities. Like if you need to figure out how to run payroll, you're dealing with inventory shortages, and unfortunately all of that just in the business order of operations if you have no product to sell, you have no customer support issues. If you're out of money because you didn't pay your taxes 2 years ago, you have no product to sell. So I think that's just something to be mindful of with all the changes and everything. Like, founders are going through a lot more than
startup founders. But what you think about the messy middle and enterprise?
Well, even then, even messy middle, like that's the danger zone. Once you get to the enterprise level, then it becomes something on a spreadsheet. And again, if that's how the business is run and it's profitable and doing what the business is meant to do, I'm not going to tell you to re-up it because this one thing, in my opinion, might be nice. Like, I'm not. But I think that it definitely comes from a lot of the founders and realizing that nobody's willing to care as much about your business as possible. And people say, I hired them because in the interview they said they're going to give 100%. Well, nobody's giving 100%. I run my own business. I have got a whole network of podcasts that I produce and host. I'm not even giving 100%. So how could you ask an employee to give 100% when it's not their business and they have no real reason to care?
Yeah.
And I think that it's that mentality of, hey, you know what? We know that you'll pay for yourself. We're tying it back to revenue. We see you talking to all these customers throughout the day. We can see that like these interactions have led to increased revenue. You've mitigated this. So just keep doing this and keep growing on your own stuff. And nobody wants to be a customer support agent for the rest of their lives. It's not necessarily a career destination. There are people that are happy at it. There are people who are excellent at it.
Yeah.
And like I say this from experience, I did customer support for a year and a half, and it's a hard, grueling job. Like if I could filter out all the shit clients that don't know what they're doing and like just don't really get it or are rude, sure. But like that's not really how the job is. And I think it's approaching it with, hey, you're going to learn a ton at this job, but a year and a half, 2 years from now, where do you want to be? And if you give me 40%, if you can turn it up to 70% when you're talking to a customer, use your downtime to focus on your goals, whether it's a little bit of professional development, whether it's learning more about the industry so you can make a lateral move and bring all this experience of talking to customers with you.
Yeah.
There's a lot you can do with that, but it's approaching everything with that mindset of, hey, you know what? It's these people don't owe me anything. I owe them something. Let's get them happy. And at the end of the day, everyone can be replaced. Eventually, the Queen of England's going to die, and like,
no, it looks a lot like she won't.
Eventually, like I'll bet all the money in the world. Eventually, the Queen will die. Everyone dies, right? Like Obama left office. The world went on. Like stuff. Everyone is replaceable. So just know that and don't.
Besides me, Valentine, if you're listening to this.
Well, even then. But like, it's just one of those things where don't try to find someone who wants to be, their life's passion is to do this
forever.
One job. Like, find people who are just passionate in general, will give you enough that it gets the job done, and they can help you find their replacement eventually as they grow, and you have that strong relationship with your employees and with your team. So I know that's sort of a roundabout answer. My personal belief is your customer support team is the ones coming in between you and your customers. It's sort of like the SDR team in B2B sales. You've got, I don't know why they're trusting people fresh out of school who have no interpersonal
skills. Yeah.
I get prospects all the time, and I don't want to be an asshole, but I'm like, come on, you're asking me for both money and time, my two most valuable resources, and you cut and paste a shit email. Try harder.
Yeah.
Like, and at the end of the day, business is not it's not a house league sport. It's not the sport. Like I went golfing this weekend. I didn't even count the strokes because I don't care. It's not a try league. It's a get it done league, and it's hard. It can be ruthless sometimes, and that's just how it works. So my opinion is, the people who your customers remember and are leaving that aftertaste in their mouths, what do you want that aftertaste that your customers have be? Do you want it that they were rushed and you didn't really care? Or do you want them to feel taken care of?
Yeah, and I think it's about making people. I mean, I was talking about this with my friends earlier. It's like one thing to create a great shopping experience and buying experience, but you also have to create a great experience for me to be your customer in general. Mm-hmm. Like that's one thing that people need to think about and consider. I'm kind of proud of myself because I've asked you questions to segue in a subject. So
good.
I actually had a plan.
Thank you for being respectful of my time as a host. I appreciate that.
See, I actually wanted to be prepared because you're a very good host. I wanted to open the Pandora box about iOS 14.5 and iOS 15. Yeah. I know you like this topic, and I see some familiar faces here in the listeners area, and I also want to say hi to Adam Pierce from Blend Commerce because he gave us a shout on LinkedIn. So I have to do that. Thanks, Adam.
What's up, Adam?
Adam, if you're still watching, you should reply on LinkedIn. I want to talk about iOS 14.5 and iOS 15. So we know, like the TLDR version, I never can say that word, is that ads are not gonna be as they used to be. Email is not gonna be how it used to be. So I wanna know from you, like, what do you think about this? What do you think are the people that are gonna get it bad out of this? Like, who's gonna get it really bad? I mean, I have my own opinions, but this is not about me. This is about you.
Yeah, I'm guessing you're gonna say the drop shippers and people just rely on Facebook ads.
Oh, they don't even exist for me, drop shippers. Yeah, no, but they do exist and I'm very respectful of them, but they don't exist in the sense of what I'm calculating. I'm mostly thinking about mid-sized and enterprise brands.
Legitimate businesses that have kind of gotten through the point of testing and it's, hey, we're going to.
Yeah. Like do you think is in danger right now the most when it comes as a company, like, the way the company is built, like 2 years, middle, brand making, I don't know, 5 million per year, but also from a creativity type of perspective, like the way you do marketing, because I think not a lot of people are ready for what these things are going to bring. And I think the shit is going to hit the fan on Black Friday. It's going to be a very surgical Black Friday. But I just want to, because you have more experience than me. I'm mostly like niched in my own retention world and my customer lifetime value world. But you have seen it all, and you know the layers of how you grow a brand and how you operate the brand.
Yeah, so, I did have my own e-commerce company for a number of years, which is not easy to do, and I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. But there are a lot of benefits. So
what is iOS 14.5? What is iOS 15? And how is it gonna affect the companies?
Yeah, so iOS 14.5, if you're not familiar, is going to really impact your ad buying. iOS 15 is going to really impact your emails. And I've been just waist deep in iOS 15 lately. So let's talk about it a little bit more, just because I know and I don't want to bullshit my way through it. There's a ton of iOS 14.5 resources out there, but if your only paid channel is Facebook, it's a good time to test another channel.
Oh my God. I didn't even realize them on my
They don't want me to give away these secrets. They don't want me to say these truths. But no, I think that's just test other platforms. And if you start collecting your own data and running it like events, for each ad campaign like an event. When we did this creative, did it do better or worse than our baseline? You know what your baseline is. You know, if you just run any ad, what it will convert to. What you're measuring is that delta. And so keeping your own data in your own business journal. I've been keeping a business journal since like 2011 of just website traffic, conversions, everything. And when I just go back and look at it and say what works, what doesn't work. And so I think that's really the important thing, is just try different channels, and you might get some good results. I also think there's an opportunity with iOS 14.5 as bigger companies put the pause on it because it's not as measurable, to take some chances. And you have to roll the dice sometime. I think that a lot of entrepreneurs we're seeing, especially with the growth of the last couple of years in e-commerce, are just too conservative. They're not willing to take any risks. Like if you have an ad that shows your product off in a funny way, it's worth testing. Like you should just always be testing some of the more out there stuff. With iOS 15, and this really segues into Black Friday, so hopefully this tees up your next question, because you hinted to it. Start segmenting your stuff now. And the most important ways to segment is based on LTV. So find that inflection point of where you need to stop marketing to them. And for us, it was 3 orders. So after 3 orders, people would go on subscription. The LTV, or lifetime profit, went from about $60 to over $300. So if we could get people between that second and third order, it was pretty profitable. And if we knew that 1 out of 3 customers would go there, we can spend a decent amount of money. So for us, what we did was just free samples, just pay the shipping, and you get 2 full-size bags to try. Because for us, our cost of goods sold was cheaper than the ads. So for your cost of goods sold, it's usually pretty cheap to just give in some extra, so customers try your products, they try everything. Yeah. They say, wow, I discovered a new brand. Look at everything that they send me. For sure, I'm going to order again. I would love this one. Let's buy a mix pack. Let's buy a bundle. And once people buy that, well, why not do a subscription? So I think looking at all the different ways to increase your revenues there is very important. I also think just segment into, and this is actually Thursday's podcast episode of Pit Stop. So, and this was what we talked about with Chase Diamond, of just different segments. So you can have segments of people who could be VIPs. You have your VIP segments. And rather than based on the open tracking or their IP, focus on what you really know for sure about them. If I own a restaurant and a customer comes in and they come in every Friday, like I know what they probably want. I know what they like. They come in all the time. I'm going to comp them some free appetizers or something, because they also are the ones that tell everyone else. Like if you can start with that that core, there's so many stats out, both anecdotal and scientific, that like it takes 3% of a population to incite riots and change. If 3% of the population is protesting, like that's all that you need. Or there's that TED talk with the second or third follower. Once a few people do it, it establishes enough social proof that
it's a pattern, basically. Did I lose you?
Encouraging them to create and share UGC, that will also help, because nobody really talks about this, but there is a still in customers' minds, like if it's a supplement or is going back to the bar example, something that you eat or ingest, if you don't know anyone who's eaten it before, you don't really want to be the guinea pig yourself.
Right, yeah.
There is something about seeing it in a store or even on Amazon that makes it just seem a little bit more credible. If I'm buying it from a website that I've never heard of, I don't know, it has no review, I'm probably not going to eat it. Like, it's just, I'm not. So I think that just continuing to do what you know works and fuels your successes for everything else. Go back and look at your historical data of emails that have done well and compare your open rate to your revenue. What was the goal of that email? Was it just to get people to open it to remind them that you still exist? Or was it?
We'll do that.
But like, it's like there's a very crass joke. What's the difference between jam and jelly? And it's that you can't jelly your promotions down someone's throat. You can only remind them so many times. Sometimes it's nice to remind them that you exist. And sometimes that can be, hey, we're in a new retailer. We just launched in Costco. If you see us, send us a picture and we'll give you $20 to the website, or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
And you just don't see that often nearly enough. It's always just buy. Yeah. And it works, sure. And I mean, it also depends on your product. But if you do want to sell your business one day and 90% of your email list is churned, like that's a lot of like top line valuation of your business. There's something to be said about having a very healthy list. So that's what I have to say about that. Just really for iOS 15, focus on your best practices, start segmenting now and start re-engaging people now. If you know they haven't opened an email or clicked a link, say, hey, are you still interested in these emails? Just click the link here.
Remember when I was at Pitstop and I was telling you about RFM segmentation? This is exactly that type of segmentation. This is the only shit that works for iOS 15. And it's funny to me now because when I was talking about this a year ago or 2 years ago, no one was giving a fuck. But now it's like, oh my God, Juliana, I read this article you wrote 6 years ago. Hey, you were right. And I'm like,
yeah, and
I was.
Not everything needs to be just-in-time knowledge. Try to learn a little bit, skim now, explore different horizons now before you need it, so that when the time comes to make decisions, it's been kind of noodling in your brain for a little bit of, what are some ideas that we can use? Juliana, she had some good stuff a couple of years ago. I'm just going to have some really good stuff now. I'm going to go back and find it. So,
it worked. It worked out for me really, really well. And when iOS 15 hit, I was probably one of the first software companies that made the public statement, because our users came to us and asked us like, oh shit, what are we going to do? And I was telling them, like, you don't have to do anything because you already have all your engagement, metrics here that you can watch. And it's actually better for you because you will start becoming more creative and using, as you said, user-generated content, reviews, using, quizzes.
You might, like, we had a review and all it said was like crack for dogs. And so we just sent out an email saying, hey, I don't know if we can use this promotionally, but it's too funny not to share.
Yeah.
And it sales and reminding people that we have a good product.
Yeah. No, I like it. And I think, this is where creativity is going to come. And I think it's going to be a purge of bad practices and all that, bullshit.
We say that, Julian. I think about how many businesses still don't have a CRM.
Oh, that's
right.
one of my problems in the world.
We think that this purge is going to come. Let's take a step back. There are.
What do you think about the marketers
from a Yahoo email account?
I'm talking more about the consultants with the purge.
Yeah, well, I think so too. But I think it'll still be a long time, and I think that unfortunately you can still get away with selling what worked, not necessarily what is working, what the industry will have.
Yeah. What do you think about the consent? I think you are in my roundup, but let me give people a bit of a flavor to it. So we're doing this roundup about consent-based marketing and the new era of consent. So what do you think? What do you think people, do you think people are ready for this type of marketing based on privacy and consent? Because most of these e-commerce companies don't even have a privacy policy on their website. When you sign up for that eternal 10% discount, you're not agreeing to no privacy policies. You're not, brands are not telling their users what they're going to use their data for and so on. So do you think they're ready for this type of changes in the market?
I mean, nobody reads that and look at what a lot of the telcos do with your data, your credit card, for instance. I don't think that it really, the nice answer is to say, you should have a privacy policy, but like, if you're a small business, there are bigger things to worry about. But once you get to a certain point, you should have it, and just make it really simple and easy to understand. But also, just because you don't have a privacy policy doesn't mean that you're not a piece of shit. So you can also not have a privacy policy and not sell people's data.
In Europe, you'd be fucked without it under GDPR. If someone, if someone tells
you... Are they cracking down, though? Because they announced CASL 6 years ago, the Canadian anti-spam laws, and it's a joke. It's a farce.
I mean, there's always, workarounds around anything, in terms of privacy. But here, if you go and report the company that they, took your personal data, they didn't inform you, they can really shut you down or they can fine you wherever. It's happening a lot in Europe. But I see, America, North America, and I see, in general that they're trying to, come around the privacy policy. I mean, I think it's all about making people, and of course, this is the sixth ambulance in the last 42 minutes. What I'm saying is that I think in a way, getting the people's permission to be marketed to, I think it's a big win that, it should encourage you as a brand to become more, I guess, cautious or more.
Let's go back to the original question. At the end of the day, if you're marketing to people who are opting in and raising their hand saying, yeah, I want promotions, it's just going to be healthier for the business overall. And that should be where you start. It's like there's often not a big shortage of people who want to buy from you. So much is how you're marketing to them, especially the farther they get down the funnel. If you have a customer who's ordered from you for the last 2-3 years, place a ton of orders, you just want to be really respectful of them. The last thing that you want to do is lose a customer by pissing them off. And just think of what pisses off customers. Better discounts for new customers. I think just
long shipping times.
Yeah, like just bad shipping times or unexpected, any interruptions of what's usual.
Exactly.
Just over spamming. Especially
if they're new buyers and you just bombed them, they didn't even receive your product and you send them 20 promotions in the last week.
Yeah, they'll never order again, which I'm sure the data backs up that that's a smart idea, but you need to confirm it with like the human side. You should always just double check things. When I was doing math in school, you always double check your answer by walking, flipping and reversing it. So you're doing something that works, flip it and reverse it. And look at your own inbox. Would you continue to shop at a store that does these practices? Like, I'm sure it would work if I went into a physical store and they restrained you and they walked you around and said, here, you can only buy these things, but I'm not going to do there. It's why I hate going to IKEA. The whole place is designed to just trap you in. And
exactly. You never come out of there.
Frustrating. It's why I can't stand to go there.
And even if you order online, I think sometimes they just put random pieces in that, in the box just to fuck with you. Because I swear, like, there's some pieces that make no sense in the overall construction of what you're gonna do.
Great reminder to everyone that if you do something, is that it's tell your customers, if you give them something extra, if you give them a bonus, even if it's to make right that you screwed up their last order. So you say, hey, we're throwing in a bonus. Let them know so they don't think that they got the wrong order.
There's so many things you can do, but as you said, I think someone told me yesterday when I love that type of feedback that a lot of brands maybe understand 10% of what I say. And I get it because, it's a lot of information. But I have a question before my last question. Do you think...
Yeah, the penultimate question.
Sorry?
The penultimate question.
Yes, my penultimate question. I didn't see. This is why you're the better host.
See, I got to throw out big words once in a while so people don't know I'm a so people don't forget that I'm not.
Expeditiously, as TI says. Um, where do you think education stands in e-commerce today? I mean, we're both seeing that. I mean, what I don't like about software companies, as being one, is that we're trying to justify ROI for the users very fast, and we're just trying to push them in these methodologies or push them into some things to do to make money so they can continue paying our software. So you have Klaviyo, you have Shopify, even us in the beginning. There's so many companies that do this, but they don't explain the actual value of the product. This like what I like about, for instance, when it comes to email service providers, what I like about Omnisend is that they are placing a lot of time on educating brands how to use email as an engagement channel versus a sales channel. And I want to ask you, like, do you think that companies are really doing their deed in terms of educating merchants rather than just throwing them out there and, make money?
Yeah, I think, I mean, ultimately the question is, how fast can you get to time to value? And education plays a huge role in this. And I really like that about Omnisend. That's why I'm partnered with them. That's why they're the email rolled up network. It's because they take a lot of time to really educate their customers.
Yeah.
And even like the Omnisend Academy is right. What I did with Greg Coase and the podcast was
I like that guy.
If you haven't listened to Current Insider, it walks you through all the different automations and flows that you can use to get started. So I think that for customer education, basically the question is, how fast can you get customers to understand your product?
And how do you make them want to learn? Because there's people that do not want to learn, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, just
you got brands that want to learn.
You've got a third of people who are really motivated. You've got a third who are kind of indifferent. We'll just go through the motions, and then a third who just don't care.
Yeah.
Make sure that for that first third that they can find the resources. Make it easy to find for them. That middle third, kind of motivate them to go and expand those two pieces of the pie as much as you can. And that last third, just unless have a ton of extra resources or you want to try some things out, don't even worry about them. They'll see themselves out.
That's what I'm thinking too. Like I'm just honestly, like we're thinking about going off market because it's been very hard for us. I mean, we're selling very complex shit. So I was actually talking to Valentina about how awesome. That's why I like Omnisend. Like they're really doing this, and they're just know exactly where to go in the market. And I remember it was a conference, and Ritis was talking, and even 2 years ago they were saying that education is so important. I think they're a good example of a tech company. I wish other companies that sell email would do the same, but they don't. And that's why email is used a lot as a sales channel instead of a nurturing and engagement channel, as it should be naturally. I have a last question, which is from our sponsors. This podcast is sponsored by VTEX. We just got listed. I mean, they just got listed at the New York Stock Exchange for a shitload of money.
Really?
And yeah, they're awesome. They have the only e-commerce platform that's also an OMS solution. And basically, they have everything integrated in the same interface.
How do you spell them out?
VTEX. VTEX.com. They're badass. They're from Brazil, and they basically kind of. I want to say this because they're our sponsors, but they're kind of shitting on everything that's e-commerce platform at the moment. And I'm really excited for them to get. It's a big win that they got listed and they're public. But they asked me to ask you this question. Every show we get this question from the sponsor. So they're asking me, Lucas, tell us what are 3 things you love about what e-commerce is today and 3 things that piss the shit out of you. I mean, they didn't use that, but they allowed me to use profanity.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like 6 questions.
Yeah.
I think that I'm just gonna say what I like and don't like. What I don't like, honestly, nothing. I bitch too much. I don't like that more people don't listen to Pit Stop because I'm putting out a ton of value right there. So I'll turn that into a promo.
I love Pit Stop. It's so easy. It's so easy to listen to it, and it's so easy to digest it. You know what?
What do I not like? I don't know. I don't want to bring any negativity into it. But I mean, everything can always be better. You can always find something wrong. But in terms of what I like right now is that e-commerce is really coming into its own, and the industry is still so young. Like, go think of like business categories, and e-commerce isn't really there. It's computers and technology, it's retail, it's software, but there's not e-commerce. So I guess that's my like and dislike, is that there's still so much opportunity for us, but a little bit of respect on the industry would be nice. But I think that's still 5 or 10 years out.
Yeah. And that was like four. That was like 4 things.
That's it. I'm not going to force too many answers, but I think that those are sort of the big ones. Just lots of opportunity, still early, and a little bit more respect and some more downloads on Pit Stop.
So you know what, guys, you gotta go and do this. Look for Rolled Up, which is extremely awesome. Lucas has founders of successful brands. I love that episode with Chris Mead. I love Chris. I love Crestnet. You're doing a great job bringing best practices. And Pit Stop, it's a pill-like podcast that you will learn something that's gonna make you or save you $100. So I mean, you're wasting so much money every day. You just gotta go, and every time you listen to an episode, you're either gonna make or save $100. So it's a win.
Seems like a pretty good deal to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop in the episode notes. You're gonna find, if you're not watching and if you're listening to this tomorrow, you will find, or today because you're listening today, you will find the links in the episode notes for Rolled Up and for Pit Stop. And Lucas, tell us where people can find you and get in contact with you or invite themselves to your podcast like I did.
Yeah. You know what? Just if you want to pander to me, like reference an episode that you've listened to, tell me that you've left a review. That'll be the fastest way to get my attention. And just give me a follow on LinkedIn. I think that's where I'll be the most active in the next few weeks. So find me on LinkedIn, but make sure if you're listening to this and you are an e-commerce merchant, go find Pit Stop. Just search Pit Stop Shopify. It's the race car. You'll see it. And if you like podcasts, want some easy listening, go search for Rolled Up. Look for the burrito.
Awesome. Well, also you will find him on Twitter where he posts delicious dishes, pictures of delicious dishes where I'm even too fat to think about them. But your ribs are still in my head. I saw those ribs, like those delicious crispy ribs.
Yeah,
Lucas, thank you for coming, man. Like this was awesome. This was a very mature and delightful conversation. I think I needed this because you boosted my energy right back up. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Take care, everyone. See ya.
Take care. Thank you, everyone, for watching on LinkedIn as well.